episode number 37. We're doing a review of 300. This is Sparta!
Black is like the brightest day. Where are the heroes? Soon as they get here, everything will be alright. I need a hero. Someone superhuman who can come and save my life.
So, it's time for that part of the show where, hold on. We have homework every week where we have to watch a certain movie. And then this week we have chosen, of course, the classic warrior film by Zack Snyder, 300.
Classic.
Right? Yeah.
I feel like I just saw this movie yesterday, but okay.
It's a classic.
It was just 2006. I was
but it's a classic.
Day.
2006 is like 18. How many years ago? It's almost
I know.
18
Shut
years
up.
ago.
How many years old? It's horrible.
Think about it. If we don't have this movie, you don't have Zack Snyder. If this movie absolutely flops, there is no Zack Snyder.
Oh no.
He's like, oh no,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like, I didn't like this like the first time I saw it, and I wondered, like, this time going in, was it me or did they not really know how to do a comic book movie yet? Because comic book movies were so hit or miss at the time. And like, right, like 2005, we had Sin City, and Sin City was like an out of the park, like home run hit for me. And then like this comes along, and I really wanted to like this movie. And I'll say one thing. One of the things I do like is that kind of rotoscoped look that comes across.
Yes.
That's like really cool.
And then watching it on my TV, like the filter,
yeah,
with the fire, you could actually see the little pixelated like stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if this looks too good now. Like maybe my TV's old or something. But has anybody read the comic?
I have read it.
Yeah,
This is pretty close.
It's pretty close to the comic.
It is. I mean, I think it does a little licensing here and there, but it's pretty close. And I watched some of the extras after, because I watched it this afternoon. And then I have it on Blu-ray, and I was watching some of the extras, and they were talking about how when they took them a while to get it greenlit by a studio, that they were initially, one of the treatments that they did was they took the comic and scanned everything, and then they kind of like cut it and made it like a moving comic to try and get it sold. That didn't work. Then they made maquettes. That didn't work. And then whoever ended up greenlighting, I can't remember who the studio is. They gave him a little bit of money, and they're like, "Oh yeah, do a couple scenes for us." So he's like, "No." So what they did was they did a battle to show what the world of 300 would look like, and it's not a scene that's in the movie. It's with some other actor. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty close. It looks a lot. There's a lot of things in it that look very much like the comic.
So 300 is a story about King Leonidas of Sparta and a force of 300 men fight the Persians at Thermopylae in 480 BC.
Let's not forget the real villain is Xerxes.
Yeah. Yes, but like as far as his historical context, it's close, but like the monsters and the dead zombie people and all that. You know what I mean? Like the immortals. You know what I mean?
Well, the immortals did exist,
but as they had them in the movie,
probably not.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But this is I've seen this movie before, and this is one of my older brothers and my nephew's favorite movies because they're soldier type guys, and they love the whole idea of Sparta and all that stuff. And the scene where they're coming to Sparta to tell them, "Oh, well, you got to give up. Xerxes is coming," and the classic, "This is Sparta," and kicks them down like. The whole could you imagine getting kicked in a hole that you don't even know?
That's right in the comic. Yeah, that's definitely in the comic.
That's just crazy to me.
There's a lot of great lines in this movie, and in fact, that there are two historians in one of the documentaries I was watching that talk about that. The Spartans, it was a very warrior society, but it wasn't just you had to learn how to fight all the time. You had to learn how to play music. You had to learn some philosophy, so you were a well-rounded warrior. It wasn't just like you fought all the time, but that was like the main focus. But you need to be well-rounded. So when they they have those witty quips back when they're talking to the different people, probably fairly close because they would have been learned guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know how he says our arrows will blot out the sun. He's like, yeah, so we'll fight in the shade. Probably would have
Yeah,
been
we're
something.
fighting in the shade. So after he kicks the guy down the hole, Leonidas has to go crawl up the mountain to talk to these people. Oh, they look like horrendous. Like
They're lepers. Yeah.
yeah, like inbreds and all that. And then they'd have like the girl who would be possessed and tell them stuff.
The Oracle. Like
The Oracle.
Well, she wasn't possessed. She's high. She's breathing in that smoke.
Yeah.
And that
And,
was realistic too. That actually happened.
And they come to find out that the Xerxes people came there before Leonidas was even there, and gave him gold to betray. But Leonidas,
What got me when he's climbing too is that there's all the rocks falling as he's climbing. It's full on, free climbing up that mountain. I'm like, how you even get back down?
slip and slide, man. He's gonna slide down that thing somehow. He comes back down. They basically tell him that he can't have war during
Carnea.
during their little tradition thing. So he's fighting with that until his wife tells him what would a free man do, and so he decides that he's going to gather up 300 men, not the entire Spartan army, but just 300 men, and they're going to funnel the Persians down this way, and
300 men with sons.
With sons,
So
right?
their names will carry on.
Yeah, so their names will carry on. Which contrasts to the end, which I thought was dope with all. He's like, there were 300. Let's see how they fare against 10,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's crazy. So Xerxes, I thought, like, image-wise, phenomenal, the way he looks. Like, if that is how he really looked in real life, I don't know.
Probably not. This whole movie's very stylized and very sexy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But Rodrigo Santoro did an amazing job.
Yeah, and he also returns in the next one.
He's the best part of the next one as far as
He returns in the next one, and I was itching to watch the next one.
I guess that's another thing I did like. It's a very stylized movie. It's just like the fighting in the slow motion is really because it's like everything is slow motion in this movie. Like everything, like walking up like down the hallway, they slow motion.
Slow motion.
Yeah.
What do they call it? The Iron Gates or the Hot Gates?
The Hot Gates.
The Hot Gates. So there's only one way for them to go in, but there's a deformed person. I don't know what else to call him, but like
like a hunchback.
The hunchback. His father was a Spartan, but I guess he had to leave because his son was deformed or whatever. Like
no,
that.
the mother convinced him to leave because she didn't want him to get rid of the baby.
Right. But the father taught him everything about being a Spartan, and then he's following them, and he finally gets to talk to Leonidas. He's like, let me fight with you. And he even tells them of a way, like, he's like, these Persians can come through this other way and they can beat you. He tells them about it. But the one thing, he's like, oh, you got a good thrust. Da, da, da. He's like, lift your shield. And he can't lift the shield. And Leonidas is like, we fight in a certain phalanx. And he's like, you're not going to be a help with us. Which I thought was like, bro, just let him hang out in the back. You know what I mean? Like,
dude, you only got 300 guys.
I know. Let him hang out in the back. Like, why are you rejecting him? Like, look at him.
Well, he says to him, you can help us, but you can't help us fight.
Yeah, but I'd be like, all right, man, just tail in the back over there. You know, whatever comes through, if anything comes through, it's all yours. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I would have said.
How about you go guard the goat path?
Yeah, and he rejects him basically, and he feels rejected. And he says, "Mother, father, you are wrong,"
and loses his shield.
Yeah, and which leads him to Xerxes, and Xerxes, says, "I'll give you all kinds of pleasures and treasures, and I'm a good god, and this and that," and he basically betrays the 300. But before that,
though, they do mention if you remember, after that conversation with them, Leonidas turns to his captain and goes, "Hey, you might want to send some guys go guard that just in case."
Yeah. And they don't.
They send I think they send the Athenians, right?
Yeah. Athenians, I thought were like, they were cool because they showed up. That main guy, he was a fighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the rest of them weren't.
Yeah, and he's like, "What are you?" He's like, "I'm a potter." "What are you?" "I'm a baker." "Spartans, what are you?"
It's like, he had 300 soldiers.
Yeah. And I like the fact, when they did the first battle, they took they had the emissary come, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Give this up now." and we've had
We have
scouts,
scouts everywhere.
and the scouts, they put the scouts in the wall that they built
yeah,
to funnel them in.
They're the mortar for the stones.
Yeah, I was like, oh, these dudes is really, they're going in. And then Persia, they send their waves, and one wave after another, they rebel them. Like, they push them back. They send like elephants, all these other things, and then Xerxes calls for a meeting with Leonidas. And they tell him not to go, but he's like, if they assassinate me, they basically ignite all the Greeks will go crazy, and that's not something he wants. So he goes to meet him, and I like that whole scene with them back and forth. Like, he's like, I'll make you a warlord, and he's like, oh, I would bow to you, but all this fighting is,
I did love that.
he's made my legs, I can't do it, and he's just playing them the whole time. But he tells them that in the end they will know that a god king can bleed, and then he just goes back. And then they send more waves, and they send more waves. And then one of the touching part was the Spartan guy who had a son that was fighting with him. And I forgot about it. And he's back to back with Magneto. What's his face? Fassbender. And they're
who looks
fighting.
amazing in this.
Yeah, and they're fighting together. Oh, you're still here. Blah 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 blah. Then I remembered when I saw it slow motion and the horse coming, and I was like, ah. And he chops his head off, and the reaction from the father, and the voiceover in the background. He had a bloodlust that could not be contained, and he was just like, I was like, oh my god, that was wild. And so eventually Xerxes and them, they get the Hunchback to betray. The Athenians warn them like, yo, they're coming that other way. We got to get out of here. Blah blah blah. But I guess the Spartans had to stick to the fact that they don't run.
Yeah, they don't ever give up.
They don't ever give up. Probably would have been smarter for them to leave and team up.
I mean, maybe, but you got to think about when you're retreating, then they're going to follow you into the hot gates.
Yeah, and it doesn't help anything for your legend. It doesn't help for the spirit.
Wow.
Oh, yes, because every great military strategist in history was worried about their legend.
Right.
Like, come on.
Listen, soldiers, that's a big for soldiers. Coming from a family that has a lot of soldiers, a big thing is their legacy.
I don't doubt that. But
legacy's fine, but you're telling me tactical retreat doesn't exist?
One of the things they don't really mention in the movie,
it does
with this battle is, you remember the part where they're standing on the rocks watching all the ships crash? That was a real thing. They had a problem. The Persians had a problem landing boats and lost a lot of them. And the sea battle is almost one of the reasons that they were as successful as they were in the hot gates, because the sea battle, there was a fleet of I don't think they were Athenian. It was another city-state that took out a bunch of boats, as well as a bunch of them not being able to get there just because of the weather. So they weren't able to land as many troops as they were. I mean, they still had way more than the Spartans, but not as many as they probably could have had. And that's what that second movie is about: is the sea battle, which I don't think is as good. But
no, it's not as good. But at least I was gonna say, that's what I'm saying. Rodrigo Santoro, best part of the second film, he still delivers.
So basically, the ending is, the whatever's left of the 300 gets surrounded by Xerxes' army, and they put themselves in a little shield thing, and Leonidas acts like he's going to bow. Yeah, and he ends up throwing a spear, and he ends up slicing Xerxes. That puts the legend of a god king. They made a god king lead.
I like the slow motion was okay. One spot.
Yeah.
One spot. So you got the slow motion right. The rest of the movie just too much.
Wow.
Yeah. And I like the arrows coming down when Leonidas is like standing there and he's thinking about his wife, the queen, and then they fling all the arrows. That was a good thing. And then the ending, like I said, when he's telling the story, and he's like, those 300 men, how will they fail against 10,000? And they're like, boom, boom, boom. Which I don't think we really saw in part 2, right?
I think I think all that stuff with the queen is like the stuff that he kind of added.
Oh, definitely. Everything of that is with the queen. The queen has one line in the graphic novel: the part with the springing shield in the head, or don't come home at all. That's it. That's the only part.
What I love is the two moments that are kind of pivotal to the entire story. Is this is Sparta. Right before he does it, if you notice, he turns it back and looks at her, and she's like, "Yeah, you should do that." He's like, I want a
No.
last chance to think about this. She's like, no, yeah, you got to do that. And then right before that last, they get killed, he's remembering her and deciding, do I really want to do this? No, I have to do this.
Yeah.
I
was gonna say, and pivotal for her is trying to get influence over the
council.
The council, and like they made that. I'm glad they gave her that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
and Lena Headey is great in this.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, she's amazing.
Sassy.
Yeah. Yes, and but the best part is it's like thanks to her, that's where the 10,000 men are coming.
Well, and Boromir. Remember, because he sends him back.
Boromir, that's where he's from. Yeah.
He's like, you're a great fighter, and we can use you, but you speak better than the rest of us. Go back and make sure this happens.
Yeah, so
because he's the one telling the story the whole time.
Yeah, here's some of the cast. You got Gerard Butler. I thought, what was his biggest movie? Like Olympus Has Fallen series, basically.
This is his biggest movie, I'd say.
Well, besides,
probably those are good movies. The Fallen series.
Yeah. Lena Headey, of course, is Cersei from Game of Thrones. David Wenham, who of course is Boromir. Dominic West, who played a good villain character.
A smarmy prick in almost every movie I've seen him in. When he comes on screen, I already don't like him when I see him in movies.
Yeah. Vincent Regan, he was good. He was the father of the guy who got his head chopped off. Michael Fassbender, of course. Tom Wisdom, Andrew Plevin, Andrew Tyrion, Rodrigo Santoro.
Is that? See,
that's him.
Now I recognize him. Okay.
Yeah. And then many others. Many others. Of course, Zack Snyder wrote and directed it.
Put his son in it, looks like. Did you see that? He played Leonidas at 7.
Yep.
Got you.
Yeah,
and of course,
there's just how good Tom Wisdom looks for 50. Like, of all these dudes from then to now, like, he's aged like a champ. Look,
there's a sequel that we talked about. It's called 300: Rise of an Empire.
I haven't.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It continues the story. Yeah, but there's supposed to be a third part. Is there not? I remember
that I don't know about.
I remember this part 2 ending on a thing like, oh, well, there's supposed to be a third one, and they never really make the third one.
I don't know. I mean, the second one, and then would be the third one, or it would be completely made up, not based on the comic.
Okay. Well, any last comments?
Well, Snyder did Perseus too. Remember Perseus?
Perseus, yeah.
Not great. Not great. Dude. So boring. Looks good. Really boring.
Let's look at some
pictures. I gotta tell you. Nice so I didn't realize that the sequel to 300 had a screenplay by Zack Snyder.
Oh, is that right?
And it is based on Xerxes by Frank Miller. So it does make me wonder.
Oh. So Rise of an Empire is based on the Xerxes comic.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Ooh, interesting. In May of 2021, Snyder revealed that he had written a third film adapting the Alexander the Great segments of Xerxes as a conclusion to his trilogy, but Warner Brothers was not interested.
That would have been. So what would have been Alexander the Great versus Xerxes?
Pretty much, because that's how it goes.
That would have been interesting. You see how you ever see behind the scenes where they spray paint the abs onto everybody?
Yes.
It's a good comic. I would say, definitely you could read the comic probably quicker than you could watch the movie.
Yeah,
it's very quick
read. It's Frank Miller before he became what Frank Miller is now. Who's, he's still an all right storyteller, but he can't draw the way he used to. Oh, that was the wild part too. So we've all seen what Frank Miller, Frank, all due respect to Frank Miller, he's an old guy. He's been very sick for the last however many years. They have interviews with him in the special features of what I watched. He looks so different. I don't know how to describe it. He looks like a young man, and it's crazy.
Yeah. All right. There they are, the 10,000 that we never see fight.
No.
Even in the sequel.
Right.
Yeah, this is like a 5 or 6 for me. That's really this is like a 5 or 6. Yeah,
Really?
it's a lower. Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
5 or 6 for me.
I
I
give
wanted
it
to
an
like
8.
it more,
I give
and
it like 7.5. I enjoy it. I wasn't one of those. I can't believe we have to watch this again. Halfway through, I'm like, yeah, there's parts that I don't love, but I still enjoyed it.
I like the stylized. I like like a lot of the stylized film, and the other half of the film is slow motion, and I wasn't feeling it as much. So yeah, it's like a 6.
I didn't notice as much of the crazy stuff when I saw it in the theater. Like, remember the guy where he's killing his generals, and the guy has like the shark arm basically, and he's all sewn together.
Oh yeah.
There's a bunch of characters like that throughout the movie. I'm like, man, I don't remember these from the first time I saw this.
That's right, Angel. They made a sequel, bro. It's called Rise of the Empire. It's okay. It's okay. If you watch the first one, I would say watch that one as well. You know what I mean?
It's got what's his name? Is the main character. He's been in some stuff. And then Eva Green, I think it is Queen or whatever.
Oh, I love Eva Green.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, Penny Dreadful's amazing, and she's in that. She's fantastic.
All right. Did we decide what we're doing next week?
No. Also, no one asked me for my rating on this movie.
Go ahead.
What's your rating?
Well,
and that was
we
it.
weren't sure if it was going to make it to us from all the way from the set of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yeah, you're over at Petro.
This is the Dial of Destiny, by the way. Okay.
The Dial of Destiny.
Right? Just so that we're clear. All right. We're doing the alternate ending reshoots based on what the reviewers have commented. You know, so we gotta have a few different endings ready for fans.
What's your number?
I'm with Phil. It's somewhere around 6 or 7. I'm not gonna lie. The Athenians being boy lovers comment definitely took it down a peg for me.
All right, Angel is saying we should watch Big Trouble in Little China.
We get this a lot.
I'm down for it. You guys down for it?
Yeah.
Oh, you can do it.
I have to find it, but yeah.
All right, Council, you got your homework for next week.
Big Trouble in Little China. It's a requested. It's a
there.
high requested film.
We're gonna do Big Trouble in Little China, and we're even gonna ask Angel if you're available. Come on, since you suggested it, and come talk with us about it on the show if you're available, of course. So that'll be the movie next week. That's your guys' homework out there. Big Trouble in Little China
With Kim Cattrall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an 80s classic, as Angel says. It's an 80s classic.
I cannot get over how some of these people have aged. Like Lightning is 61 years old now, James Pax, and he still looks great.
Yeah, it's an old film, man. It's the 80s. Yeesh.
Angel's so funny. What is this?
Look, he says he's down. All right. We'll talk on Tuesday if you're there. And if not, we'll send you out the link too, bro, and you can join us for that show. All right. So that's our show for tonight. We want to thank everybody for watching. Remember, if you have not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Be a part of our 500 subscribers contest. Be a subscriber on the channel. Look for our 500 subscriber video. Comment and like on that video for you to be entered into the contest of 3 prizes: Heroes in Crisis 1 through 9, a green shirt guy head sketch design, or a CGC 9.8 graded comic. If you're on Facebook, jump on over to YouTube. As Cliff has been telling us, the video is getting buried. I'm trying to figure out a way to clip it to the top of our video playlist. I haven't figured that out yet, but it'll take you 2 seconds to scroll down and find it. And, it makes it a little hunt for you guys as well. Just remember, don't be confused by the short and the video. You have to comment on the long video, not the short. The short is just there to get you to the long.